Let's start with the definition of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a brain disease. Its defining feature is psychosis, or being out of touch with reality. Delusions and hallucinations are hallmarks of the illness. Delusions are fixed and false beliefs that aren't responsive to evidence, and hallucinations are false sensory experiences.
Started off quite small, for example, pull out 3 strands of hair, but gradually it grew more extreme, culminating in commands to harm myself and a particularly dramatic injury.
1 in 4 people suffer from some sort of mental illness. So if it was 1, 2, 3, 4, it's you, sir, you. Yeah.
As a young woman, I was in a psychiatric hospital on 3 different occasions for lengthy periods. My doctors diagnosed me with chronic schizophrenia and gave me a prognosis of, quote, great. Imagine having a nightmare while you're awake.
Instruction. You see that tutor over there, you see that glass of water. We have to go over and pour it over him in front of the other students, which I actually did, and which, needless to say, did not endear me to the faculty.
I am one of the 1 in 4. Thank you.
For example, when I'm a psychotic, I often have the delusion that I've killed hundreds of thousands of people with my thoughts. I sometimes have the idea that nuclear explosions are about to be set off in my brain.
In effect, a vicious cycle of fear, avoidance, mistrust, and misunderstanding had been established. This was a battle in which I felt powerless and incapable of establishing any kind of peace or reconciliation.
I took to my bed for about a month, and when I woke up, I found I was institutionalized.
What are you talking about, Ellen? Oh, you know, the usual, who's what, what's who, heaven and hell. Let's go out on the roof. It's a flat surface, it's safe.
If the devil had Tourette's, that's what it would sound like.
2 years later, and the deterioration was dramatic. By now, I had the whole frenzied repertoire. Terrifying voices, grotesque visions.
All I got was a couple phone calls telling me to perk up. Perk up. Because I didn't think of that.
Occasionally I have hallucinations, like one time I turned around and saw a man with a raised knife.
My mental health status had been a catalyst for discrimination, verbal abuse, and physical and sexual assault. And I've been told by my psychiatrist, Eleanor, you'd be better off with cancer, because cancer is easier to cure than schizophrenia. I'd been diagnosed, drugged, and discarded, and was by now so tormented by the voices that I attempted to drill a hole in my head in order to get them out.
I did not make my illness public until relatively late in life. And that's because the stigma against mental illness is so powerful that I didn't feel safe with people knowing.
You know that when you have those abusive voices, all those little neurons get together, and in that little gap you get a real toxic, I want to kill myself kind of chemical. And if you have that over and over again on a loop tape, you might have yourself depression.
And these people may be your spouse, they may be your child, they may be your neighbor, they may be your friend, they may be your coworker.
How come when people have mental damage, it's always an act of imagination? How come every other organ in your body can get sick and you get sympathy except the brain?
Which locates voice hearing as a survival strategy, a sane reaction to insane circumstances. Not as an aberrant symptom of schizophrenia to be endured, but a complex, significant, and meaningful experience to be explored.
So let me share some final thoughts. We need to invest more resources into research and treatment of mental illness. The better we understand these illnesses, the better the treatments we can provide, and the better the treatments we can provide, the more we can offer people care and not have to use force. Also, we must stop criminalizing mental illness. It's a national tragedy and scandal that the LA County Jail is the biggest psychiatric facility in the United States. American prisons and jails are filled with people who suffer from severe mental illness, and many of them are there because they never received adequate treatment. I could have easily ended up there or on the streets myself.
Working together to promote dignity, solidarity, and empowerment for individuals in mental distress, to create a new language and practice of hope.
What those of us who suffer with mental illness want is what everybody wants. In the words of Sigmund Freud, to work and to love. Thank you.